welcome back to the Hannahcast, everybody. My name is Christian, and today, again, sorry this is very late. A bunch of bad, tragic things have happened in my life. If you follow me on social media, you probably know what those would be, but regardless, I'm gonna give you guys another Oscars flashback, and also to make up for it, I'll give you guys a bonus episode of the Hannahcast on Wednesday or Thursday, because I need to, because that's when, like, Wednesday is when Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 comes out on Disney Plus, and I need to talk about Marvel, and how I'm a little bit concerned, even though I'm very sure Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is going to be great. But regardless, you know, I'm going to be talking about the 92nd Oscars. The year was 2020, literally right before the pandemic hit, you know, the before times. And I'm not gonna, and with the movie, where the movies came out in 2019, and I'm not gonna lie, just looking at this Best Picture lineup, ever since I've been watching the Oscars, this might be the best Picture lineup I've seen yet, at least in the expanded Best Picture era, because all of these movies are great. They're all great. And, like, in my opinion, the worst ones might be either Little Women or Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Those are the worst ones, in my opinion. And yet they're all great. Like, it's insane. And we all famously remember this as the year where Parasite made an unprecedented sweep. I mean, obviously it didn't win every award that it was going to win, but, like, it not only won, I mean, yeah, it was going to win International Feature, it won Original Screenplay, and then out of nowhere, joon-ho wins Best Director, and then Parasite wins Best Picture, despite none of the precursors suggesting that this would happen, for the most part. And it was a phenomenal year. Like, it was so cool. I still go back and watch those joon-ho Oscar wins, because Parasite, from his work, like, for his wins on Parasite, and seeing him so happy and seeing everyone so happy, it was just a really cool time, to just watch that all unfold. And I'm not gonna lie, but, like, Parasite was a phenomenal film. Like, it wasn't my number one pick, but in the Best Picture lineup, it was number 3, and in my overall top 10 of 2019, it was number 4. So, like, that's really, really good. Like, if I were gonna maybe, like, rank the Best Picture nominees, like, 'cause, like, the Best Picture nominees as is were 1917, which was expected to win, Ford v Ferrari, The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, Little Women, Marriage Story, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Parasite. And I think this is probably how I would rank them from best to, I guess, least best, because they're all great. Joker, 1917, Parasite, The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Marriage Story, Ford v Ferrari, and either at the bottom, Little Women or Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Right now, I'm thinking Little Women's at the bottom, but at the same time, again, even if I put Little Women at the bottom, it's still a great movie. Like, let me just, like, it's hard to really go into just all these films, because, you know, there's so many categories, and I don't want to, you know, bog up the time, but, you know, 1917, it was a phenomenal, like, war film made to look like it was done in one take. It's very engaging, and, like, probably one of the best directing achievements I've seen in recent memory. Ford v Ferrari, I wasn't sure if this was going to be, like, a big Best Picture contender early on, but, I mean, once I saw it, I was like, oh, wow. Ford v Ferrari is really freaking good. Which is weird, because, like, Ford v Ferrari only got nominated for Best Picture, Best Film Editing, and Best Sound Editing. Those are the only awards it got nominated for. So it's like it's probably, like, one of, like, the least nominated Best Picture nominees I've seen yet. At least, or at the very least, like, not even any above the line potential. But even though the above the line potential there was just spread out with so many other films. It's insane. The racing was really good. The sound editing and mixing and the film editing in general are just phenomenal. I mean, I think maybe that's one of the reasons why it got into Best Picture, because it was one of the most visceral experiences at the theaters that year. Like, it was a thrilling ride. And yet, you still had very likable characters. I'd still say that Ford v Ferrari was probably number 9 in this list, in terms of, like, the votes. But even that, like, in terms of, like, how many votes it probably got. But regardless, it is still a great film and definitely a worthy Best Picture nominee. The Irishman, like, when I heard that this was going to be 3.5 hours long, I was like, oh God, no, please don't do this. Because it's Martin, don't get me wrong, I love Martin Scorsese, but not every movie needs to be 3.5 hours long. And I still believe that. Not every movie needs to be 3 hours long. But I feel like with The Irishman, it worked. And honestly, it's really crazy how The Irishman went from being, like, the front runner. Because early on, like, everyone thought, like, the front runner was going to be The Irishman, because it was predicted to win Best Picture, Best Director. Robert De Niro was in the conversation, not even conversation, he was considered to be a lock for Best Lead Actor for a long, long time. And of course, a bunch of other nominations, because you also had Al Pacino and Joe Pesci, like, the gangs all together. And obviously the visual effects were going to be talked about because they were going to be de-aging these actors, and everyone was wanting to see, how are they going to do this, because de-aging was a bit hit or miss at the time. But even though The Irishman did very well in terms of nominations, if I'm not mistaken, let me see how many nominations it got. Yeah, The Irishman got 10 nominations, actually tying with 1917 and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood for the second most nominations that year, with number 1 being Joker, which we'll get to here in a bit. But, like, The Irishman went in with 10 nominations, a pretty good haul, and went home with nothing. It won nothing! It's insane! Like, The Irishman didn't win anything. And it's absolutely crazy. And then you had Jojo Rabbit, which I was always kind of fascinated in what Jojo Rabbit was going to be, because, Taika Waititi had just come off of Thor Ragnarok, which I still think is a fantastic MCU film. Like, I think it's fantastic. I don't care how many people want to try to backtrack to try to pretend like it was bad. Ever since Thor Love and Thunder came out, people have the worst attention spans ever. But, like, Thor Ragnarok was great, and now Jojo Rabbit was coming out, and it was going to be like this Nazi Germany comedy, like coming of age comedy. I was like, is this gonna work? Like, I get it, Taika Waititi is a funny man, but is he the right person to tell a Nazi Germany story? And he absolutely was. Because this movie turned out to not only be very funny in a way that's not totally uncomfortable, but also it was a very impactful, deep film that was heart-wrenching at times, and showed how environments can shape a kid, like just this innocent kid, this kid, he's going to Nazi camp. He wants to be a Nazi one day, and he's been told that the Jews are bad, but that's because the freaking environment that he's in is so toxic that it's just put that into his mind, and the movie shows in a brilliant way how vulnerable children's minds can be in their environment that they're in. Because I'm willing to bet if this kid didn't live in this environment, and let's say was part of I think it was the Allies, if he was a part of the Allies, then he wouldn't have become this way. Like, if he was a part of the Allies, he would not view Jews this way. and he meets this girl who is Jewish, and because of his interactions with her, he starts to realize, oh wait, like is what I'm fighting for wrong? But through the vein of a kid. And it's just like this really funny yet heartbreaking film. It's just so good. And it was like the unexpected, like, Best Picture contender of the year. Well, maybe not totally unexpected, because then it goes to our next film, Joker. Wow. Like, the Joker was already in my top 10 most anticipated movies of 2019, because I was really digging this idea. Like, let's take a Batman villain and just strip away all the comic bookness out of it and just tell his story. Just tell a story with the Joker. Don't have Batman in it. We're just kind of doing our own thing. And once the trailer started coming out, I got even more excited, because Joker, it looked like they were just going the full, like, psychological thriller route. And once I saw the movie, that was absolutely the case. Joker was the biggest hit out of all of these Best Picture nominees by a landslide. It became the first R-rated film to ever make $1 billion, which was that was unheard of. Like, no one had ever thought that something like that could be achieved. And yet Joker actually did it. And the movie also caused a bit of controversy, because there was like this weird thing where like people were like, oh no, is this movie gonna make people violent? It was just this dumb smear campaign against Joker, which if you watch the movie, it's like, no, it's not. Like, even then, like movies don't make people violent. They don't. And video game, it's the same thing with like why video games don't make people violent. Again, it's external forces outside. Again, it's their environment, the environment that people are in, and whether certain laws are regulated or unregulated, that's what causes violence, not media like this. It's the real world. The real world has, shockingly more real world implications than entertainment. So, like, it's a crazy concept. But even then the movie doesn't even glorify violence. It doesn't, because the movie clearly is a cautionary tale of what happens when it's a cautionary tale as like showing what happens when I'm trying to figure out a way to describe this. It's a movie about corrupt politicians stepping over the poor or other marginalized groups and stuff. And it's again, you see this guy, this Arthur Fleck character, the Joker. What if you took real world scenarios but you put the Joker in that, and you get a very compelling story. And the Joker, more than any other comic book movie, feels the most realistic. Like, so much of this feels like it could actually happen in real life. And I was expecting Joker to do well. Like, I was expecting maybe 400, 500 million, because, people really do love the Joker. Like, I still think that's, I think it's no coincidence that the 1989 Batman was the highest grossing Batman out of all of them, because it had the Joker in it. And then you had The Dark Knight, where it made over $1 billion, whereas Batman Begins made like 300 something million. And then you have Suicide Squad, which really no one knows or cares about who the Suicide Squad is. But guess what? You put the Joker in the marketing, the movie makes like $700 million worldwide. It's no coincidence I don't think it's a coincidence that the Joker, brings in the box office. Even then, I wasn't expecting what the movie Joker did, because Joker, the movie, made way more money than The Dark Knight did. It became, again, it was one of the highest grossing films of the year, and if I'm not mistaken, I think it actually made more money than Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, which is nuts. So yeah, like Joker, I think it's a fantastic movie. And and it probably would have been my best picture my best picture pick, but even then, still. And Little Women was Greta Gerwig's second film. Actually, no, technically third film, I should say, because there was another film she did before Lady Bird, but I forget what that was. But this was, Greta Gerwig's follow up to Lady Bird. And Little Women, like hearing that she was going to be doing Little Women, it's like, all right, I'm wanting to see how this. Once again, I'm wanting to see how this goes, because Little Women has been remade so many times. And I'm like, is this gonna translate well today or something? Like, is this really gonna, like, is this gonna be a film that modern audiences can connect to? And it absolutely was. It was a endlessly charming film. It's just very, very likable. The writing especially is what stands out in the film. The performances are all fantastic. I mean, it's Little Women. You can't really go wrong with it. And then you have Marriage Story. Marriage Story was this film directed by Noah Baumbach, who he was known for doing some films, like he did the Meyerowitz stories, New and Selected, a couple years before this. And he was him as a director and writer. He always made like these really great films, but no one really he never really got that much attention. That was until Marriage Story. Because Marriage Story, it on paper it doesn't really sound like a best picture contender, because it's basically about Adam Driver's character and Scarlett Johansson's character. They're married, they have a kid, but they're going through a divorce. And that's the movie. And again, on paper, that doesn't sound interesting. But the way the film is written and the way the characters interact off of each other is just brilliant. It is, so well done. And again, the performances are all great. I mean, this, once this came out, it's like, all right, this is going to be a Best Picture contender, definitely. Then you have Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I think along with The Irishman, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was the other, best bet to make for a Best Picture nomination, because it's Quentin Tarantino. This screamed Best Picture all over it. It was Quentin Tarantino doing, this big, Hollywood epic with that's where it's Leonardo DiCaprio's character, who's an actor, his stunt double played by Brad Pitt, and then there's also this side plot in the film regarding the Manson, the Charles Manson family. This was this had Tarantino all over it. I do think this is a great film. I will say, I do have some problems with it. For one, I feel like the character of Sharon Tate, played by Margot Robbie, was completely unnecessary. There was no reason to have this character in the film at all. You really, or the very least, how would I describe? Or at the very least, maybe have her appear at the very end, where it's because the most you see her in the film, she's just kind of going about her day and just watching a movie and stuff. It's it doesn't really add up to anything. And yeah, she appears at the end of the film after the big climax, but it's you could have done that without all this other stuff, and it would have tightened up the film a lot more. So I don't, and plus it also felt a little bit weird that Quentin Tarantino was sexualizing Sharon Tate, a real life dead person, by having her constantly flaunt her feet and stuff. Which I get it, Quentin Tarantino's gonna do the foot thing because he loves feet, but do you really have to do it with a real person, with Sharon Tate, a woman who's dead, who was murdered? I don't think that was a good idea. So yeah, I feel like Sharon Tate really did not need to be like Sharon Tate as a character did not need to be in this film anywhere near as much as she did. You could have just had her appear to the end and be like a little surprised, like, what? Margot Robbie is Sharon Tate? What? And the movie would have been better for it. But that's my opinion. Everything else in the film is probably about like A+ material. Like, it's really funny. Brad Pitt's character is like probably the coolest man alive. He's just hilarious. Like everything else about the film is just fantastic. And then Parasite, the big champion at this year's Oscars, or at least the 92nd Oscars, as we're talking about this. What do I need to say about it? Like, Parasite is fantastic. It wasn't my number 1 pick. It was, like I said, it was my number 3 pick, but I have no complaints. Like, you're gonna pick Parasite for Best Picture? I don't care. Like, this is great. This is a great pick. And some people online, especially freaking Joker bros, which even though Joker was my number 1 pick for Best Picture, good God, the Joker bros against Parasite are so stupid. Like, there was like this one idiot who was like, why did Parasite win Best Picture and not Joker in 1917? Even, because, and the reason why what he was saying was stupid was well, for one, he admitted, and it was like some random YouTuber, nothing. I think Moist Critical talked about him, but I've heard a lot of other people, like a lot of these other kind of incel kind of people say this basic, like regurgitating the same thing where it's like, why couldn't it have been Joker in 1917? You know, American movies. Why did a foreign movie win Best Picture? It's called Best Picture. There's already a Best Foreign Language movie category. Why do you have to have that win Best Picture? Which is really, really dumb, because for a number of reasons. Because for one, this YouTuber said he never saw Parasite, so that immediately, here's the thing, if you saw Parasite and you just didn't like it, then alright, fine, fair enough. Like, I didn't like Everything Ever All at Once. I didn't think it deserved Best Picture, but I leave it at that. But he goes beyond just admitting that he never saw the movie. But but again, the whole thing about, it's a foreign film. Why does it need to? It shouldn't qualify for Best Picture. But it's like, that doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter if it's in another language. Like, if it's one of the best movies of the year, it's one of the best movies of the year. Like, the reason why there's a best now it's called Best International Feature. The reason why there's a category for that is that they want to highlight a lot of the other films that aren't American. And even then, that doesn't mean you can't get nominated for Best Picture. Like, you absolutely can. Like, hell, ever since then, there's been an international feature nominated in Best Picture. Maybe not for the 2020 films, because I think Another Round probably would have gotten in, but that didn't that didn't happen. And I guess there was Minari, but Minari was an American film. It wasn't really international, so But 2021, Drive My Car. In 2022, you had All Quiet on the Western Front. Like, international films can get nominated for Best Picture and Best International Feature. They're not mutually exclusive. Just like how, animated movies can get nominated in Best Picture despite the fact that there's a Best Animated Feature category. It's like, sure, there's a category for animated movies, but that doesn't preclude them from getting nominated in Best Picture, because Best Picture should be for the best movies. And if one of the best movies, because you had Toy Story 3, that was nominated for Best Picture. You had, what was it called? Up, that was nominated for Best Picture, and some people are, and currently, Spider-Verse might get, Across the Spider-Verse might get nominated for Best Picture. So it's like, it doesn't matter what medium or what kind, or where your movie comes from to be nominated for. It doesn't really matter when it comes to Best Picture. If your movie is one of the best movies of the year, it's one of the best movies of the year. Like, it doesn't matter. And again, the fact that this person didn't even see Parasite just negates any of his arguments. It's just dumb. Again, if you just didn't like Parasite, great, like, fine, whatever. Like everyone has their own opinions, but once you start getting into the whole xenophobia thing where it's like, oh, because this is an international film, it shouldn't qualify. Like, that's where you get dumb. That's where you get stupid. That's where you deserve to get egg on your face. So there's that. And so, yeah, so that's where we are. Like, those are the Best Picture nominees. How did they do in terms of the guilds, or, you know, the precursors? Well, BAFTA won. Oh no, 1917 won BAFTA. It won the Golden Globe for drama, and it won the Producers Guild Award for now. For the Golden Globe drama, that was actually a pretty big shock, because people were wondering, is it going to be The Irishman or is it going to be Joker? We know it was kind of unsure which one it was going to be, but then the fact that that 1917 ended up snagging in Best Picture drama at the Golden Globes, I was like, oh boy, and even looking back, 1917 was going to very much appeal to the BAFTAs because it was a very British movie. It's a big British war film, and then once it won PGA, it started looking like, yeah, 1917 could win Best Picture. Although I think I actually did predict, Parasite at the time, which is kind of wild. But yeah. Like, it was looking like it was going to win. And then at the SAG, and it didn't get nominated for, and Parasite, 1917 didn't get nominated for any SAG awards. And so, yeah, like I said, 1917, it won BAFTA, Golden Globe Drama, and the Producers Guild Award for Best Picture. And so, which won the comedy musical Golden Globe? Well, that went to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And not only did Once Upon a Time Hollywood win that, it also won the Critics' Choice Award for Best Picture, which was, that, again, big shock. It was like, oh my god. Like, at that point, it was, because, like, I think the Golden Globes came first, and then it was the Critics' Choice, and it's just like, what are we gonna do? I guess it was looking like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was leading the Best Picture charge. But again, as it went by, it was looking more like 1917, and then Parasite won SAG Ensemble, and that was pretty big. But again, it was like, it was kind of, and it was very strange where it was going to go. But let's talk about where the other films were in. Ford v Ferrari was nominated at Critics' Choice and Producers Guild, but it didn't win, obviously. Again, this is why I think it was the probably 9th film on the ballot for Best Picture, because it wasn't dominating like any top 5s. So there was that. The Irishman, it got in everywhere it needed to get in. It got nominated for BAFTA, Golden Globe Drama, Critics' Choice, Producers Guild, and SAG. So it got everything that it really did need to get. Jojo Rabbit, once again, it performed very well. It got nominated for the Golden Globe for Comedy Musical. It got nominated at Critics' Choice, Producers Guild, and SAG. No BAFTA, though. Joker, it got nominated at BAFTA, Golden Globe, Critics' Choice, and Producers Guild. No SAG. Little Women only got Critics' Choice and Producers Guild, which again, I feel like it was, again, kind of low on the priority list for Best Picture. But it still ended up getting in. Marriage Story got in at Golden Globe Drama, Critics' Choice, Producers Guild. Expected. Like again, no BAFTA, no SAG. Actually, the fact that Marriage Story didn't get SAG is kind of crazy, considering how many acting nominations it got. And the fact that Little Women didn't get SAG as well is also very shocking. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, just like, The Irishman, it got in everywhere it needed to get in. It got in at BAFTA. It won the Golden Globe Comedy Musical. It won Critics' Choice for Best Picture. And it was nominated for Producers Guild and SAG Ensemble. And then you have Parasite, which, once again, actually did. It sort of got in everywhere it needed to get in, but I'll get to that here in a bit. It got in at BAFTA, Critics' Choice, Producers Guild, and SAG, all for the Best Picture stuff. Even though SAG is SAG Ensemble, but you know what I'm saying. And it won SAG Ensemble. Now, it didn't get in for Golden Globe for Best Picture Drama. But considering it was an international film, it didn't at the time it didn't qualify for those awards. It was only able to win Best Foreign Language Film at the Golden Globes, which it did win. I mean, it was pretty easy. So it's kind of tough to say, but I think safe to say the top 3 safest contenders for nominations were The Irishman, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Parasite. And there was also 1917, but again, no SAG Ensemble, but still, even though it was still pretty big, it was still a pretty big contender. 1917 was. And so, what could have possibly been that 10th slot? Well, there's a few options. Bombshell actually surprised with a SAG Ensemble nomination. Dolomite Is My Name was nominated for Golden Globe Comedy Musical. I don't think Bombshell or Dolomite would have, gotten in. I think they were pretty. It was looking like they wouldn't happen. There was also Knives Out, which got a little bit closer than I thought it would. It got nominated for the Golden Globe Comedy Music for Best Picture, Comedy Musical at the Golden Globes, and it got Producers Guild, which is kind of crazy. But I don't know if this would have gotten in, because the Oscars don't like mysteries. Rocketman got nominated for Best Picture Comedy Musical at the Golden Globes. Uncut Gems won. I shouldn't say won. They were nominated. And Uncut Gems was nominated for, Rocketman was nominated for Golden Globe Comedy Musical. I don't know how long I've been saying won, but whatever. And Uncut Gems was nominated for the Critics' Choice Award for Best Picture. I can't speak today, although I don't think Uncut Gems would have gotten close at all. It was clearly a critics' favorite, not really an industry favorite. So I think right now I kind of have to go with The Two Popes, because it was nominated for Golden Globe Drama, which is almost a lock. So, and the fact that it got nominated for Adapted Screenplay, Lead Actor, and Supporting Actor, I think if there were 10 slots, The Two Popes would have gotten in. And I would not be mad. The Two Popes was absolutely fantastic. I loved that film. It's basically about how Pope Francis became Pope Francis, and the movie, and how his interactions and discussions with Pope Benedict. It's very engaging. Anthony Hopkins and Jonathan Pryce give excellent performances, and the script is done by Anthony McCartan, which he's just phenomenal at that. So yeah, but I think out of the 9 Best Picture nominees, if there was a 10th film in, it would have been The Two Popes. So yeah. Anyways, let's get into Best Director, in which the nominees were Bong Joon-ho for Parasite, Sam Mendes for 1917, Todd Phillips for Joker, Martin Scorsese for The Irishman, and Quentin Tarantino for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Once again, this is a great lineup of directors. I would probably swap. Honestly, this would have been my best director lineup, except I'd swap out Quentin Tarantino in favor of Taika Waititi for Jojo Rabbit, which, funny enough, Taika Waititi got in at the Directors Guild Awards. So, hey. I guess it kind of shows that he was close. He was pretty close. This race, just like Best Picture, was insane. Because at first, it was looking like a cakewalk for Sam Mendes, because Sam Mendes won the Golden Globe for director, then he won Critics' Choice, which he tied with Bong Joon-ho, which is kind of nuts. He tied with Bong Joon-ho, then he won Directors Guild, then he won BAFTA, and it was just expected that Sam Mendes was going to win the Oscar. And then out of nowhere at the Oscars, Bong Joon-ho's name was announced, and I was like, oh my god. 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 This was huge. And again, I guess Bong Joon-ho, got a precursor with Critics' Choice for director, but he tied that with the guy who was gonna win. Like, that was the only thing he got, and it was a tie. Like, it was just insane how this all turned out. And I'm not complaining. I mean, granted, I think I would have voted for Sam Mendes, but Bong Joon-ho is a great choice as well. I'm not going to complain. Like, he directed Parasite really, really well. But it's just the shock that, because, like, no one was expecting this would happen. Even for me, who thought Parasite was going to win Best Picture, I didn't expect Bong Joon-ho to take Best Director. Like, not in a million. I didn't think that was happening at all. And so it was just insane. It really was an insane turn of events. And looking at it, like 4 out of the 5 nominees for Best Director literally got in everywhere they needed to get in, because they got in like Bong Joon-ho, Sam Mendes, Martin Scorsese, and Quentin Tarantino. All of them got nominated at BAFTA, Golden Globes, Critics' Choice, and Directors Guild. And then Tom Phillips for Joker, I feel like ultimately it seemed like he was going to get it, but because like he got nominated at Golden Globes and the BAFTAs, but he wasn't necessarily a favorite because he didn't get nominated at Critics' Choice, even in an expanded director lineup, and he didn't get nominated at the Directors Guild, because at Critics' Choice, the other nominees were Noah Baumbach for Marriage Story, Greta Gerwig for Little Women, and Josh Safdie and Betty Safdie for Uncut Gems, which the Safdies would have never made it to the Oscars. Again, that was just a pure critics thing that they did. And I'm not complaining, because Uncut Gems is actually, again, fantastic, wonderful movie, but I knew the Oscars would never touch Uncut Gems. In fact, that's something we'll get into when we get into lead actor later on, but I knew Uncut Gems was going to get nothing at the Oscars in terms of nominations. And then Taika Waititi got nominated for the Directors Guild for Jojo Rabbit. And I know there was some controversy that Little Women, like Greta Gerwig, didn't get nominated for director for Little Women. And look, I thought she did a great job with Little Women, but I don't think the movie needed a directing nomination. It seemed like more of a, it's sort of the same reason why I wouldn't really give Noah Baumbach a directing nomination for Marriage Story, because it really, I feel like it really was more of a screenplay driven film. And don't get me wrong, like, performances are absolutely driven by the director, but it's like, I feel like in terms of the directing achievements, like Bong Joon-ho in Parasite, like Sam Mendes, like Todd Phillips, like Martin Scorsese, like Taika Waititi, those stood out more to me because it went beyond just the writing. A lot of it went into, like, the productions of those movies, the pacing, the like it was a bunch of other things that I feel like were coming together more as a whole rather than just the writing. And that's, I don't, as much as I love Greta Gerwig and her work in Little Women, I don't, and I wouldn't have complained if she got a nomination, but I don't think Little Women needed a directing nomination. I wouldn't have nominated Little Women for directing. But again, same thing with Marriage Story. They were more, I feel like they were more, screenplay driven than director driven. And it was weird that people were just shocked that Gerwig and Baumbach were snubbed at the Oscars. I was like, this was never going to happen. People, this was never going to happen. Again, you look at, Todd Phillips didn't get Directors Guild or the Critics' Choice, but out of all the other contenders, he was the one that had the most he was the one that had the best odds for that 5th slot. So yeah, And so moving on, we get to Best Original Screenplay, which, oh boy, this was already an insane category because you have 1917, Knives Out, Marriage Story, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Parasite. It was looking, at first, it was looking like, because okay, first, where did these films get in? 1917 got nominated for the Writers Guild of America, which was kind of shocking, especially since the BAFTAs didn't do that, and the BAFTAs really loved 1917. Knives Out got nominated at BAFTA, Critics' Choice, and Writers Guild. Weirdly enough, no Golden Globes. That's weird. Marriage Story got in everywhere it needed to. It got nominated at the BAFTAs, Golden Globes, Critics' Choice, and Writers Guild. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood got nominated for the BAFTA, won the Golden Globe, and won the Critics' Choice for Original Screenplay over Parasite, which was kind of crazy. And Parasite, which won the Oscar, won the BAFTA and lost Parasite lost the Golden Globe and the Critics' Choice Award, but it won the BAFTA and the Writers Guild Awards. Now, I should say, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood didn't get nominated at the Writers Guild because Quentin Tarantino is not a member of the Writers Guild of America. So, that's why he didn't get nominated there. His movies have never been nominated for Writers Guild Awards. But yeah, let's talk about this original screenplay category. I should, and maybe once again, I should also mention what were some of the other possible contenders. The Booksmart was probably widely considered to be that fifth slot over 1917, at least in terms of predicting, because it got nominated at the Writers Guild the Writers Guild Awards, which, all right, expected, and then BAFTA. The BAFTAs went with Booksmart for original screenplay. All right. I can see how that it was. I can very much see how that was a very strong contender. The Farewell only got Critics' Choice, and I don't think I would have nominated The Farewell, but it would have been a great one to see as well. Pain and Glory and Uncut Gems didn't get nominated for original screenplay anywhere. I didn't expect them to, but those would probably be some of the other contenders that maybe people might want to know about that could have maybe gotten in some other or whatever. Now this is insane. I kind of expected, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood to take the Golden Globe for screenplay. Even The Hateful Eight got nominated, won for original screenplay. I think The Hateful Eight won original screenplay at the Golden Globes that year. Oh, wait, no. It was Steve Jobs that won. Steve Jobs won. Okay. I didn't know that. All right. But whatever. He won the Golden Globe for screenplay for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but it seemed kind of expected. And then Hollywood won Critics' Choice. And considering it won Critics' Choice, it won the Critics' Choice for original screenplay and Best Picture, it was kind of looking like it was going to win the Oscar for a while. And granted, he wasn't nominated at the Writers Guild, so it probably could have been we could have seen a Parasite or Marriage Story win, and it ended up going to Parasite. But then all eyes were on the BAFTAs. What were the BAFTAs going to do? What were they going to do? Were they going to go with Hollywood? Were the BAFTAs actually going to go with Hollywood? And then they ended up going with Parasite. And at that moment, that's when I was like, all right, Parasite's winning original screenplay at the Oscars. Because, the BAFTAs could have easily given it to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and they didn't do that. So it looked pretty clear. And I think this is also a pretty big sign that it could, or at least a decent sign that it could win Best Picture at the Oscars, Parasite, because it was already going to beat 1917 for original screenplay. Like, then, because at that point, it definitely had a shot. Because the thing is, you need screenplay or director at the Oscars, like, to, like, winning one of those to win Best Picture. And, Parasite beating 1917 somewhere would have been a good shot. And then, again, as we know, he beat Joon-ho for director. No, he beat Sam Mendes for director. I can't speak today. And at that point, it was just undeniable that Parasite was going to win Best Picture. It was undeniable. Then we get to adapted screenplay, which also in of itself was a pretty cool ride in of itself. Because the nominees were The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, Little Women and the Two Popes. Irishman got nominated, like, okay, this is how Irishman, like, got nominated for the, like, okay, how do I go about this? At first, it was looking like Little Women could take adapted screenplay because it won the Critics' Choice Award for adapted screenplay. Little Women was nominated at BAFTA and Writers Guild, but it didn't win in those, because where did it go to? It went to Jojo Rabbit. It went to Jojo Rabbit in the Writers Guild, and then he won, like, Jojo Rabbit won at the BAFTAs. And at that point, it's like, oh, Taika Waititi's going to win his first Oscar for Jojo Rabbit. And I can't say I can complain. In fact, I think Jojo Rabbit maybe would have been my pick for best adapted screenplay, considering, you know, how they could have easily butchered the, like, you know, the subject matter, and yet it was done probably the most perfect way possible. Again, Little Women, it was a great nominee, but I thought Jojo Rabbit was a little bit better, and plus I think there were a few other films I would have put above it as well. But, and when you look at let's take a look at the stats for a second. The Irishman got nominated for adapted screenplay at the BAFTAs. It got nominated for screenplay at the Golden Globes, because remember, at the Golden Globes they combine adapted and original screenplay for some reason, which is kind of dumb. It was nominated for Critics' Choice and Writers Guild. So really, The Irishman got everywhere it needed to get in. It got in everywhere. Jojo Rabbit, it won BAFTA and Writers Guild, and it was nominated for Critics' Choice, but obviously it lost to Little Women. Joker was nominated at the BAFTAs, Critics' Choice, and Writers Guild. Not the Golden Globes, which is kind of crazy considering how much the Golden Globes loved Joker. So the fact that they didn't nominate this for screenplay is kind of weird. Little Women, nominated at BAFTA, won Critics' Choice, and was nominated at the Writers Guild. And The Two Popes was that last, like, that fifth slot was looking kind of interesting, like, what was going to happen? Because, like, The Two Popes was nominated at the BAFTAs, Golden Globes, and Critics' Choice, which, again, it seemed like a safe bet, because, again, you want to bet on Anthony McCartan. And so, really, I think overall, this was a pretty locked up category, because the only other film that could have possibly gotten in was A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, which, hey, great movie, by the way. We'll talk about that here in a bit. And it got nominated at Critics' Choice and Writers Guild, but, you know, I feel, considering it was going up against 4 Best Picture nominees, and a film that would ultimately get was not only looking to get adapted screenplay, but was getting potentially 2 acting nominations, as well as already having been nominated for the Golden Globe for drama. It's like A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood probably didn't really stand much of a chance against The Two Popes or Joker. So I guess there's not really much to say, because it was a pretty locked up category. It was pretty said and done. Also, and yeah, I'm looking at this. Yep, all of the nominees for the Oscar were nominated at Critics' Choice, as plus Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, I guess. Then we get to lead actor. This was this is pretty interesting. You had Antonio Banderas for Pain and Glory, who got nominated for the Golden Globe for lead actor drama. And Critics' Choice, funny enough, he got nominated at Critics' Choice Awards. Leonardo DiCaprio got everything. He got nominated everywhere he needed to get in. He got nominated for the BAFTA, was nominated for the Golden Globe for lead actor comedy musical. Didn't win, weirdly enough. We'll get to that here in a bit. Got nominated at Critics' Choice and SAG. Adam Driver, once again, got nominated everywhere he needed to get in. BAFTA, Globe for drama, Critics' Choice, and SAG. He didn't win anything, even though he was kind of expected to win before the tide started to shift towards Joaquin Phoenix. And then speaking of Joaquin Phoenix, he won the Oscar, and before that, again, it was a complete sweep. BAFTA, Golden Globe drama, Critics' Choice, SAG. He was unstoppable. And I don't know why there's like this recent thing where like people are going, oh, he shouldn't have won an Oscar for this. It's like, no, he should have. Like, he deserved the Oscar for this. Like, this is a very much deserving win. Like, look, Adam Driver, like, he was great in Marriage Story. I didn't think it was the best performance of the year. I thought it was Joaquin Phoenix and Joker. And then Jonathan Pryce for The Two Popes got nominated at BAFTA and Golden Globe drama. Honestly, pretty good combo to have. But I think the big shock was that another actor who got in everywhere that didn't get nominated for the Oscar was Taron Egerton for Rocketman, because he got nominated at BAFTA, Critics' Choice, SAG, and beat Leonardo DiCaprio for Best Lead Actor or Comedy Musical at the Golden Globes. Like, he beat Leo and yet didn't get nominated for the Oscar, which is crazy. I think maybe, like, and that's not even like the biggest, like some of the bigger stuff that people were talking about, because remember when I was saying that Robert De Niro was like, you know, like perceived as a big frontrunner for lead actor? He only got nominated at Critics' Choice. Only Critics' Choice. Didn't get nominated anywhere else. Some people thought that Eddie Murphy for Dolomite Is My Name was going to happen. He was nominated at Golden Globe comedy for the Golden Globes for lead actor comedy musical and Critics' Choice, but I'm not gonna lie, Eddie Murphy didn't deserve an Oscar nomination for that. Like, he was really good, and I thought, you know, it was a cool film to, you know, help us, you know, bring Eddie Murphy back. Like, it was like his return to film. He wasn't gone, but it's like he was kind of like not really anywhere for a while. But I don't know why people were pissed off that Eddie Murphy didn't get nominated for the Oscar. I didn't think he really deserved it. I didn't think he really deserved an Oscar nomination for Dolomite Is My Name. Like, that's because, like, again, you look at the other nominees and it's like, because, like, not only would I put, like, because, like, it's not even just the five lead actors that we did get, but it's like, I would have put Taron Egerton over Eddie Murphy, and even Adam Sandler for Uncut Gems, which is another big controversy. He only got nominated at Critics' Choice and didn't get nominated for the Oscar. And even though I figured, I knew he wasn't going to get in, but, like, I knew, like, but, like, even though I knew he wasn't going to get in, I still would have put Adam Sandler in over Eddie Murphy. So it's like, and yeah, you know what, I probably would have, because, like, who would my nominees be? Because I'm keeping in Phoenix, Adam Driver, Leonardo DiCaprio, and probably Jonathan Pryce. So do I put in, I guess I probably would put in Adam Sandler. I guess I'd probably take out Banderas and put in Adam Sandler. But that's tough because Taron Egerton and Antonio Banderas were both phenomenal in those movies. So it's like, and then there's Robert De Niro to consider, because he was phenomenal on The Irishman, and again, weirdly enough, he didn't get in anywhere. So I don't know why people thought Eddie Murphy was going to happen. It was so clear that it was not going to happen, nor did it really deserve to happen. Like, you can't just be great, you have to be one of the best. And Eddie Murphy was just not one of the top 5 best lead actors that year, in my opinion. Who were some other potential contenders? Well, Christian Bale for Ford v Ferrari made a shockingly good argument to be made for for a nomination for him, because he got nominated at the Golden Globes for lead actor drama and SAG. Like, this was it was a pretty good haul to have, especially since Ford v Ferrari was a Best Picture contender. Daniel Craig for Knives Out only got Golden Globe musical comedy, but or at least in terms of a nomination, I knew that was never going to happen. Roman Griffin Davis was nominated at the Golden Globes for lead actor comedy musical, but once again, that was never going to happen. So yeah, like, very good lead actor lineup. I thought Joaquin Phoenix deserved it, and even though I would swap out Antonio Banderas for Adam Sandler, again, he's very good in Pain and Glories, and again with the whole Eddie Murphy thing. Sorry, Eddie. Well, like, see you next time, I guess. And because again, Eddie Murphy is not bad. He's really good in Dolomite Is My Name, but he's just, I think basically my thing is he's just kind of being Eddie Murphy. It's like we know the Eddie Murphy stuff. I've seen Eddie Murphy better in other movies, and like significantly better and more transformative. This is just not one of those movies that needed, or performances that needed an Oscar nomination. It just really wasn't. Then we get to lead actress, where we have Cynthia Erivo for Harriet, who got nominated at the Golden Globes for lead actress drama, Critics' Choice, and SAG. No BAFTA, weirdly enough. Scarlett Johansson, who got in everywhere she needed to get in. She was nominated at BAFTA, Golden Globe drama, Critics' Choice, SAG. Saoirse Ronan, yeah, got in everywhere she needed to get in. BAFTA, Golden Globe, drama, Critics' Choice, and SAG. Renee Zellweger also, actually, before that, Charlize Theron got in. She was nominated at Golden Globe, Critics' Choice, and SAG. No BAFTA, mind you. But, again, very good. And then you have Renee Zellweger, who once, just like Joaquin Phoenix, it was a complete... Actually, I think all four of the acting contenders just had like a complete clean sweep. Like, they won everything. Like, Renee Zellweger for Judy won the BAFTA, Golden Globe drama, Critics' Choice, and SAG. I'm not gonna lie, Renee Zellweger didn't completely wow me in Judy. She didn't really wow me that much. And I'm looking at, I think all the rest of the nominees, I think, are very, very good. Like, maybe I could have swapped it, put in Awkwafina for The Farewell, which, that was a pretty decent surprise, that she didn't get nominated, because she won the Golden Globe for comedy musical. And was nominated at Critics' Choice. I think overall I didn't expect her to get in, but I feel like it's tough, because like a lot of the other acting category, a lot of the other actresses were really good as well. Like, Cynthia Erivo. I didn't love Harriet, but I thought she was great in it. Scarlett Johansson for Marriage Story, this is like easily her best performance of her career. Very good argument to be made that maybe she could have won the Oscar. Saoirse Ronan for Little Women, once again, absolute like A+ performance. Maybe her best performance, I would argue, mayhaps. And Charlize Theron in Bombshell. This is interesting because she's playing Megyn Kelly. And we'll get to the makeup here in a bit, and the makeup is so good that it's kind of scary. Like, she actually does look like Megyn Kelly. And even her, but aside from just the makeup, her performance is very, very strong as well. Like, she did a very good job emulating her, Megyn Kelly's voice, being very... being very careful with her words and stuff. Like, it was just again just a scary looking performance. Like, that's strange. I think, and like I said, I think maybe like who were probably next in line. I'd probably say. Actually, maybe I'd say Lupita Nyong'o for Us maybe could have gotten in, because she got nominated at Critics' Choice and SAG, But then at the same time, there is also Awkwafina for The Farewell, and she won the Golden Globe for Comedy Musical, so maybe it was her. It was a tough year. And granted, I didn't love Renee Zellweger and Judy, but it seems like a lot of people seem to disagree. So again, once again, it's a really tough year. It's a really tough year. Then you have like some other people that got nominated elsewhere. You know, there was Ana de Armas in Knives Out, but she only got nominated for the Golden Globe for lead actress comedy musical. Kate Blanchett, also same nomination, but for Where'd You Go, Bernadette, Golden Globe comedy musical. And for these other two, and Beanie Feldstein for Booksmart and Emma Thompson for Late Night. Once again, they also got nominated for the Golden Globe for lead actress comedy musical. And then the weird one of the bunch, in terms of precursors, Jessie Buckley for Wild Rose, which only got nominated at BAFTA. But again, that was like a weird BAFTA British thing, so so it looked, she was never going to get nominated for the Oscar. But yeah, very, very strong list of contenders. Again, I wasn't totally, head over heels over Renee Zellweger and Judy. I probably would have swapped her out in favor of like Awkwafina, but again, for the most part, very strong nominees. Very, very strong nominees. Then we get to supporting actor, which I think at this point, it was very easy to predict who was going to get nominated. Like, very, very easy. Because the nominees were Tom Hanks for A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, Anthony Hopkins for The Two Popes, Al Pacino for The Irishman, Joe Pesci for The Irishman, and Brad Pitt for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It was nuts. Tom Hanks, Al Pacino, Joe Pesci, and Brad Pitt, once again, the easiest locks. Like, they all got nominated for the BAFTA, Golden Globe, Critics' Choice, and SAG. And Anthony Hopkins got BAFTA, Golden Globe, and Critics' Choice, but he lost out on SAG to Jamie Foxx for Just Mercy. Which, I think at that point, given how many nominations Anthony Hopkins got, I was like, Jamie Foxx is never going to happen. He's never going to happen. That's just a SAG thing that's happening. Sort of like how Adam Sandler this year got nominated for lead actor for Hustle. It's like, he was, like, Jamie Foxx was never going to make it to the Oscars. And honestly, once again, very, very good lineup. But weirdly enough, the one I would swap out was the one that was sweeping everywhere. And that was Brad Pitt for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He won, once again, clean sweep. He won BAFTA, Golden Globe, Critics' Choice, and SAG. And similar to, Eddie Murphy and Dolomite Is My Name, I think, my thing with Brad Pitt and why I wouldn't nominate him is that he's kind of just being Brad Pitt. Although at the same time, maybe not as much as Eddie Murphy, but it's like he still is just kind of being like the cool guy, like the cool like movie star guy, even though in the movie he's a stuntman and not really all that famous. And I'd swap him out with Willem Dafoe for The Lighthouse, which he got nominated at Critics' Choice, but even then I knew Willem Dafoe was never happening. Once again, especially since Critics' Choice had more than 5, the Critics' Choice Awards have more than 5 acting nominations, so it was pretty easy to see that Willem Dafoe was never going to make it to the Oscars. But honestly, I can't think of an acting lineup that was this just locked up. It was so obvious. I guess Anthony Hopkins was number 5, but And now, who would have been my pick to win? Weirdly enough, my pick to win would have been Tom Hanks for A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. One thing I will also say about this top 5 for supporting actor, nothing but Hollywood legends right here. It is a who's who of, some of Hollywood's most respected actors. It's insane. And I should also mention, this is Brad Pitt's first acting Oscar, but it's not his first Oscar, because he did win Best Picture for 12 Years a Slave. Just a little stat for you. But anyways, back to Tom Hanks. The reason why I would pick him as my winner for supporting actor is because Tom Hanks, like, when I heard that Tom Hanks was going to be playing Mr. Rogers, I was like, oh no. No, why is he playing Mr. Rogers? That's weird. Like, why is he playing Mr. Rogers? Because, like, I get it, you know, he's very nice and he's might as well be a real life, or at least, like, a modern Mr. Rogers. But it's like, no, like he doesn't, nothing about him screams Mr. Rogers to me. And then I saw the trailer. No, not the trailer. No, it was the movie. Because when I watched the movie, it starts off with, you know, Tom Hanks doing the Mr. Rogers Neighborhood intro. I was like, God damn it, I'm hooked. Like, I'm hooked in this. Like, this is Mr. Rogers. Like, he doesn't look like Mr. Rogers. He doesn't even sound like Mr. Rogers. But man, he got those mannerisms down. He got the mannerisms down to a T. And, like, it was so shocking that, like, I just saw Fred Rogers right there on screen. It was a weird experience. So, yeah. And I think if there was maybe any other than Willem Dafoe and Jamie Foxx, I guess people are trying to make an argument for Song Kang-ho for Parasite, which again, not a bad pick, but especially when you have this lineup of supporting actors, and it was that locked up in terms of predictions, like Song Kang-ho would never happen. Not in a million years. Then, supporting actress. This is where you have Kathy Bates for Richard Jewell, who only got nominated at the Golden Globes. Laura Dern for Marriage Story, who once again complete sweep, winning BAFTA, Golden Globe, Critics' Choice, SAG. Scarlett Johansson for Jojo Rabbit, who got nominated at BAFTA, Critics' Choice, and SAG. Florence Pugh for Little Women, who got nominated at the BAFTAs and Critics' Choice. Margot Robbie for Bombshell, who got nominated everywhere she needed to get in. BAFTA, Golden Globe, Critics' Choice, and SAG. Now, admittedly, it was kind of hard to see where this race was going for the most part. Because, like, Laura Dern for Marriage Story, like, that was going to happen regardless. At first, I was like, wait, is Scarlett Johansson for Jojo Rabbit going to happen? Because she didn't get nominated at the Globes, but she got nominated everywhere else. So, safe bet, I guess. And, of course, Margot Robbie was getting in everywhere, which is weird because a lot of people, like the BAFTAs also nominated Margot Robbie for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is strange. Like, I was like, why? Like, her performance, okay, it's weird, because, like, she got double nominated. Like, she got double nominated at the BAFTAs. Like, Margot Robbie got nominated for Bombshell, and she got a nomination for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But I'm just like, why? Why did you nominate her for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? She didn't deserve that for that movie. She, like, her performance in Bombshell was way better. Like, it was way more of a performance. But whatever. But, like, Florence Pugh was kind of up in the air because, like, she got Critics' Choice and BAFTA, but the fact that SAG didn't go for her was weird. So, like, and plus, there was also some other potential contenders. Actually, well, one major contender that people thought was going to happen that ended up not happening, which was Jennifer Lopez for Hustlers, which, like she got nominated at Golden Globes, Critics' Choice, SAG. No BAFTAs, but still, that's a pretty good haul to have. And I gotta say, like, what do I think of these performances overall? Kathy Bates, okay, well, first, let's talk about Laura Dern here in a second. I know, like, she won everything, but I'm not gonna lie. This was maybe one of the most undeserving acting wins I've seen in a long time. Like, don't get me wrong, Laura Dern's good in Marriage Story, but nothing about it screamed, give this an Oscar. Nothing about this. Even, like, way more so than Eddie Murphy and Dolomite Is My Name. Like, what did she do in this movie that, like, because, like, okay, like, again, she's not bad. She gave really what the character needed, but this character was not, like, not anything that, like, there was nothing about this performance that showed me anything like, oh my god, I didn't know Laura Dern could do this. She just read the lines very, very well, but it's like, there was nothing there. There was no, like, it's the same thing. It's the same reason why I wouldn't nominate Cate Blanchett for Tar for lead actress. Because it's like, it's just a very talky performance. Nothing is really being emotionally conveyed. It's just, I feel, basically, the writing is taking over way more than the acting. And I don't know why Laura Dern won anything for this. Like, this is just beyond me. This is, like, and I know some people were kind of upset that Kathy Bates for Richard Jewell got nominated. Like, look, I thought Richard Jewell was okay. Like, it wasn't great. It was okay at best. Although I feel my main problems with the movie involve how they make this this idiot who really should not be in law enforcement look like a hero, even though he's an idiot who got lucky one time when discovering a bomb, or at least like suggesting that there was a bomb, and it turns out, oh wait, it actually was a bomb. It was very, very weird. Like, but regardless, Kathy Bates was phenomenal in Richard Jewell. Like, especially her bit towards the end, where she's giving like this press conference speech. It's like, that's like, how can I deny that? Like, that's a really good performance. Like, yeah. And then you have Scarlett Johansson for Jojo Rabbit, where there was a lot going on in that performance. Like even though a lot of times she was being the more supportive mother and stuff, like, there was still a lot of stuff going on inside that really was conveyed that I thought, yeah, this should get an Oscar nomination. Florence Pugh for Little Women may have been my pick to win. Like, this is probably one of the most complex, like, easily the most complex performance I've seen in this, out of this bunch of nominees. Because I swear to God, I'm not even kidding, early on in the movie, like the movie, like, Little Women sort of has time jumps. It keeps going back and forth. One, going back to where, you know, when they were younger, and then they'll sometimes also jump forward in time when they're older, and there's even like a sort of color grading difference. Like, the more youthful scenes have more warm tones, and the scenes that happen later on in later on in their age happen it's more cold and bluish in color tone. And Florence Pugh has the biggest range out of anyone in that film, because she's in the more youthful scenes, she's very whiny, very complainy, very childish, and then the scenes where she's older, she is so much, like, she takes so much of a, she makes, how to describe it, she takes she makes a complete 180 in her character, so much so to where I legit thought it was a different actress. I thought maybe like the younger actress. For some reason, I thought the younger actress was like, not the younger actress, like the younger version of her character was played by Chloe Grace Moretz or something. I don't know why I assumed that. I guess I didn't really know much about Florence Pugh anyway. But when I discovered that that was the same performer, like, I was like, oh my god. Like, it was insane. Her range was so crazy, I legit thought they were played by two different people. Like, it was that crazy. And easily she should have won this. But she didn't, so, And then Margot Robbie for Bombshell. Again, very good performance. I think, actually, even though Bombshell was based off of a true story, Margot Robbie's character was not a real life person, which is a little strange to me, but regardless, I thought Margot Robbie was fantastic in the film. And so there leaves in some of the other contenders. Once again, Jennifer Lopez in Hustlers maybe could have gotten in. Like, I would have definitely put her in over Laura Dern in Marriage Story. She was very good in Hustlers, although I can maybe see how, like, Hustlers maybe wouldn't be very digestible for a lot of people. Margot Robbie was nominated at the BAFTAs for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Never should have happened. Didn't deserve it. Glad it didn't happen at the Oscars. Annette Bening for The Report happened at the Golden Globes, which was very strange. I keep forgetting about that movie, and it's like, oh yeah, that movie happened. It was kind of boring, and Annette Bening definitely did not stand out to me. Nicole Kidman for Bombshell was nominated at SAG. That could have also made a pretty good nomination. Not gonna lie. I don't know if I would have squeezed her in, but like, I wouldn't have complained if she did. And then there was Zhao Shuzhen for The Farewell. She got nominated only at Critics' Choice, which is kind of sad because I would have nominated her. But again, it was a pretty packed year because, again, I wouldn't have put in Laura Dern for Marriage Story. But again, you're also competing with like Jennifer Lopez for Hustlers and Nicole Kidman for Bombshell. It was a pretty stacked year. So I can't really complain too much that, Zhao Shuzhen didn't get in. It sucks, but, it is what it is. But overall, I don't know why Laura Dern ever gained traction at all. Why? Why did that ever happen? So yeah. Now on to the below the line categories. We have Best Cinematography, where the nominees were 1917, The Irishman, Joker, The Lighthouse, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. This went 4 out of 5 with the American Society of Cinematographers nominations, because 1917, Irishman, Joker, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood got ASC, but instead of the Lighthouse, it went to Ford v Ferrari. Which I think was also a pretty good bet to have for cinematography, because let's take a look. Like, obviously 1917, like, it was gonna win this. I mean, it's a one-take war movie. How does this not win? Especially when you have Roger Deakins at the helm of director of photography. I mean, it was a complete sweep. He won BAFTA, Golden Globe, and Critics' Choice. No, not Golden Globe. He won BAFTA, Critics' Choice, and ASC. Not gonna go, like, it's a very deserving nomination. The Irishman, once again, got everywhere needed. BAFTA, Critics' Choice, ASC. So, yeah. Joker, once again, it got in everywhere. BAFTA, Critics' Choice, ASC. The Lighthouse got in at BAFTA and Critics' Choice, but not ASC, which again is kind of weird. The Lighthouse, I'm really glad that nomination happened, because, going into it, I was coming out of The Lighthouse, I was like, this is probably not gonna be nominated for anything, is it? It's probably not gonna get nominated for anything. But then it started to get traction for cinematography. I'm like, that'd be fun. I'd love to see that, and it did happen. And then Once Upon a Time in Hollywood got Critics' Choice and ASC. I'm not gonna lie though, I don't know. Okay, maybe you can make an argument for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I wouldn't have nominated Hollywood, but still, why did The Irishman get cinematography? Why? Like, I love The Irishman, but in terms of cinematography, it was so basic. It was so basic. What about the cinematography stood out? Like, nothing. Nothing about the cinematography stood out in that film. Absolutely nothing. I don't know why it got in. And again, Joker, very good nomination. But still, like, just The Irishman, really? Because there was Ford v Ferrari, which got in at BAFTA, Critics' Choice, and ASC. I don't know if I would have nominated Ford v Ferrari, though. I don't know if I would have gone for that. Yeah, I probably wouldn't have. But, like, you could, like, maybe you could make an argument for Parasite, although I don't know if I would have done that, although Parasite didn't get nominated anywhere. But there's a couple of films that could have gotten nominated for cinematography that didn't get nominated anywhere, like A Hidden Life, Portrait of a Lady on Fire, which Portrait of a Lady on Fire was, like, filmed in, like, I think 8K. And I'm just looking at some of those clips and it's like, God, man, this is beautiful. Like, this is stunning. And it didn't get in anywhere. Like, it was nuts. Like, I'm surprised even the Critics' Choice didn't go for Portrait of a Lady on Fire, because the critics just loved that film. But, whatever. 1917 won. It was a deserving win. Then we get to film editing, where we have Ford v Ferrari, The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, Parasite. This is one thing that you're gonna see with the Oscar nominations this year, like for the 92nd Oscars, is that so many of the categories were just dominated by Best Picture nominees. I mean, dominated by Best Picture nominees. It was nuts. And for film editing, it's no exception. Ford v Ferrari ended up winning, although it was kind of interesting to see where it was going to go, because the only thing that it won beforehand was BAFTA. Because Ford v Ferrari, it won the BAFTA, but like, where did everything else win? Well, 1917, which didn't even get nominated for the Oscar, won the Critics' Choice Award. Parasite, which was nominated for the Critics' Choice Award, it won the ACE for drama, which an ACE stands for American Cinema Editors. It won ACE drama, and Jojo Rabbit, it didn't win the BAFTA, but it won the ACE for comedy musical. So it's like, and Ford v Ferrari only had, BAFTA, which is nuts. And let's take a look at the other stats before I get into a little bit more of this. Ford v Ferrari, again, won BAFTA, was nominated at Critics' Choice and ACE Drama, didn't win those two. Irishman got nominated everywhere it needed to get in. It got nominated for BAFTA, Critics' Choice, and ACE Drama. And honestly, very good nomination for The Irishman, if I'm going to be honest, because The Irishman, it was 3.5 hours long, and it felt like 2.5 hours long. And you know me, the longer, pacing can kill a movie. Like, that pacing has killed so many movies for me, like Nomadland, like Tar. Your movie needs to have a good pace to it. I'm not even saying it needs to be fast-paced. It just shouldn't feel like a slog. And The Irishman did not feel like a slog. It was very well edited. And probably among these nominees, probably would have been my pick to win, if I'm going to be honest. So yeah, The Irishman couldn't even win film editing? What the hell? Jojo Rabbit was nominated at BAFTA and ACE Comedy Musical. I think at this point it was looking pretty clear that it could get nominated for the Oscar, even though it didn't get nominated for Critics' Choice. Joker got nominated at BAFTA and ACE Drama, but it didn't win those. And Parasite, like I said, got nominated at Critics' Choice and it won ACE Drama, which honestly, it's kind of weird that Parasite didn't get nominated at the BAFTAs. Like, oh, I think I know why. Because at the BAFTAs, instead of Parasite, they gave it to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which got in everywhere. Because Hollywood got nominated for the BAFTA, Critics' Choice, and ACE Comedy Musical. And again, it lost that to Jojo Rabbit. So I guess, again, it's a very, like, I guess I probably wouldn't nominate I probably wouldn't nominate Hollywood for film editing, but still, in terms of predicting, it was a pretty big shock. So yeah, what were the other potential contenders? Dolomite is in terms of the ACE for comedy musical, like the American Cinema Award for film editing and a comedy musical. You had other nominees like Dolomite Is My Name, The Farewell, and Knives Out. Marriage Story got ACE Drama, which that's a pretty good thing to put. That's pretty cool. Uncut Gems got Critics' Choice, but again, that's the only thing it got. Like, Critics' Choice was like the only body to really love Uncut Gems, so yeah. And honestly, it didn't get in anywhere, but like Midsommar could have probably gotten in for film editing somewhere, maybe, I think. But overall, like, these are still very good. What nominees we did get, like, again, Ford v Ferrari, Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, Parasite, Still very strong nominees. Among these nominees, I probably would have gone with The Irishman. But Ford v Ferrari is not a bad winner either. Then we get to production design, and once again, it was a complete, it was all Best Picture nominees. You had 1917, The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Parasite. Which, Parasite's that's a very good nomination for Parasite. Now, obviously, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, well, it was expected to make a sweep, even though it didn't sweep completely. Because, it did win Critics' Choice and the Art Directors Guild for period film, which it won that over 1917. But at the BAFTAs, 1917 beat Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But I think you could have maybe chalked that up to, it was the big British movie nominated for Best Picture, so maybe it had an advantage there. Especially given how Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, literally had, blocks and blocks of, recreating old Hollywood. It was nuts. And I would say it was the deserving winner. And so I guess number 2 maybe would have been 1917. But then again, Parasite, it didn't win the Critics' Choice Award. It wasn't nominated for the BAFTA, but it did get nominated for the Art Directors Guild for Contemporary Film. It did win Contemporary at the Art Directors Guild, or ADG. So, again, very good. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, I know it's not a complete Critics' Choice lineup. But anyways, before I get into that, let's look at where these nominees got. 1917 won BAFTA, but it lost Critics' Choice and ADG period film. The Irishman, it was nominated for, but didn't win BAFTA, Critics' Choice, or ADG period. I still don't know why The Irishman got in for production design. It didn't really, again, the production design did not really stand out to me that much. Jojo Rabbit, it got nominated at BAFTA and ADG period. It seemed like it was a pretty good bet to have for production design. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, again, it got in everywhere it needed to get in. BAFTA, Critics' Choice, ADG period. And then Parasite, but like I said, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood didn't win BAFTA. And then Parasite lost Critics' Choice, but won ADG Contemporary. Any potential other contenders? Let's see. Ad Astra got nominated for ADG Fantasy Film, as well as Aladdin, Dumbo, Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker, and funny enough, Avengers Endgame won ADG Fantasy, which, I'm not gonna lie, Endgame won production design at the Art Directors Guild, or production design for fantasy film at the Art Directors Guild. I don't know. I probably would have put either Star Wars or maybe Maleficent in there above it, or Dumbo. Dumbo is a pretty good argument to make. For ADG Contemporary, other than Parasite, some of the other nominees were A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum, Knives Out, and Us. But obviously they all lost to Parasite, which makes sense. What was it? Some other ADG period film nominees included Ford v Ferrari, Joker. Oh God, wait. Yeah, okay, yeah. Joker. Okay, that was a shock. Joker didn't get nominated, and it got nominated everywhere. It got nominated for the BAFTA, the Critics' Choice, and ADG period. I think Joker should have gotten a nomination for production design. You can just swap out Irishman and replace that with Joker. You didn't need to, really? Why did I don't know why The Irishman kept getting nominated in a bunch. Don't get me wrong, I love The Irishman, but there were some categories that it did not need nominations for. It really did not need nominations for cinematography or production design, and, well, spoilers, costume design. So yeah, that's weird. And Little Women got nominated at Critics' Choice, as well as Downton Abbey. but you know, I didn't think they were going to repeat themselves. So, and ultimately that was the case. Also, no one went for Midsommar. No one went for Midsommar for production design, which is weird. But yeah, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it was an easy win for it. So there you go. For costume design, the nominees were The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, Little Women, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And once again, it's like this was a pretty chaotic year. Oh, hold on, let me just zoom out of that real quick. Because like so many of the films that could have won or gotten in didn't get in. Because like, all right, yeah, like what? Because like, okay, let's see. Little Women won, but it only won BAFTA and it was only nominated at Critics' Choice, but yet it wasn't nominated for Costume Designers Guild period film. Either one of two things happened. One, there was either a screener issue and maybe they couldn't get screeners out to the Costume Designers Guild in time, or for some reason they just didn't bother nominating Little Women. It's like, if that's the case, if you didn't think Little Women was the best period costume design, if you didn't even think it was worthy of a nomination in its own category, why would you give it a nomination here? It's very strange. Also, I just realized, once again, The Irishman didn't get nominated for the Costume Designers Guild period film. I was like, what? So I was like, why did you nominate it there? And Joker got nothing. Okay, which, granted, I think Joker should have been in, but it's like, this is just weird. This is just really, really weird. Because, like, okay, let's just take a look at the stats real quick. The Irishman only got BAFTA. It only got BAFTA. Jojo Rabbit, again, I should say, The Irishman got nominated for BAFTA. Jojo Rabbit got nominated for the BAFTA and won the Costume Designers Guild for period film. Joker didn't get in anywhere else, which I thought was strange. Little Women, which won the Oscar, won the BAFTA, and it was nominated for the Critics' Choice Award. And we'll get to who won the Critics' Choice Award here in a bit, because good God. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, out of the nominees, it was the only one to get in everywhere, because it got in at BAFTA, Critics' Choice, and Costume Designers Guild for period film. Who else were some of the nominees? Like, honestly, oh God, the biggest snub, and I mean the biggest snub. Dolomite Is My Name won Critics' Choice for costume design and was nominated for Costume Designers Guild for period film, like CDG for period film, and yet Dolomite didn't get nominated for the Oscar. I'm sorry, Dolomite should have won the Oscar. How did Dolomite not even get nominated? That was so stupid. Like, why didn't this, especially considering this lineup in costume design is pretty weak in my opinion, other than Joker. Like, I would have, like, Aladdin only, like, didn't even win Costume Designers Guild for sci-fi fantasy film, but, like, Aladdin should have gotten in. Again, say what you will about Aladdin, but it's like, it deserved to get in. All right, let's just take this, like, one group at a time. Costume Designers Guild for period film, like, Dolomite is in terms of the other contenders that weren't nominated for the Oscars, Dolomite got in CDG period film, Downton Abbey got CDG period film, as well as Critics' Choice, which is interesting. What was it? Rocketman got Critics' Choice and CDG period film, and again, no Oscar nomination for Rocketman? Like, really? No nominations for Rocketman? And I'm looking at any of the, CDG sci-fi fantasy, the nominees were Aladdin, which should have been nominated for the Oscar, Avengers Endgame, Captain Marvel, Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, and Maleficent Mistress of Evil, which won. Which also, again, another weird snub. Maleficent didn't get nominated for the Oscar. That's weird. Again, say what you will about the movie itself, but the costume design is actually really, really good. And then CDG contemporary film, some of the nominees included A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, Hustlers, that's pretty good, Knives Out, which won a contemporary film at CDG, The Laundromat, and Queen and Slim. So yeah. And in terms of other nominations in other places, Judy got nominated at BAFTA, which again, that's kind of weird that it got nominated at BAFTA, but not CDG period. And then a couple of other films that didn't get nominated anywhere. Midsommar, Portrait of a Lady on Fire, none of them got in anywhere. Then we get to Best Makeup and Hairstyling, in which the nominees were 1917, Bombshell, Joker, Judy, and Maleficent Mistress of Evil. Weirdly enough, the one big surprise I had was 1917. Because I actually think I did expect Maleficent. Because Maleficent had very, like, I know some people are like, oh, Maleficent, but it's like, there were actually some pretty good makeup. There was actually some pretty good makeup in that film. But 1917 got in? And like, it only got nominated at BAFTA. Even the Makeup and Hairstylists Guild didn't go for 1917. Bombshell, though, it was the complete sweep. It won everything it could have won. It won everything it could have won. It won BAFTA, Critics' Choice, Makeup and Hairstylists Guild for contemporary makeup, contemporary hairstyling, and special effects makeup. And so, of course, it was going to win the Oscar. It was, like, that's nuts. Joker, it got nominated, actually, no, not everywhere it needed to get. Actually, but then again, it's kind of weird, because, like, okay, it got nominated at BAFTA and Critics' Choice, makes sense, but then the Makeup and Hairstylists Guild, it went they went in different ways, because it was nominated for the Makeup and Hairstylists Guild for contemporary hairstyling, but won period character makeup. So it's like, but the film is a period piece, not really contemporary. But it's like, I don't know what's going on, unless they mean, because unless the 80s still counts as, you know, period film. But at the same time, at the Makeup and Hairstylist Guild, they still had Rocket Man in period character makeup. So I don't understand. I don't understand this at all. I really don't. But yeah, granted, it should not beat Bombshell, but it didn't beat Bombshell anywhere. So really, Joker, you know, Joker was a worthy nomination. But yeah, Judy only got BAFTA and Critics' Choice. Like, it only got nominated there. Not even any, again, no nominations of the Makeup and Hairstylists Guild, which is weird. And then Maleficent Mistress of Evil only got Makeup and Hairstylists Guild for period character hairstyling, which is kind of weird considering it didn't even get nominated for, like, special effects makeup, which is kind of strange. Because, like, the character played by Warwick Davis, I thought could have maybe gotten in, you know, for special effects makeup. And some other films that were on the short list included Dolomite Is My Name, which got nominated at Critics' Choice, and it was nominated at the Makeup and Hairstylists Guild for period character makeup and period character hairstyling. Downton Abbey was also on the short list, and it was nominated at the Makeup and Hairstylists Guild for period character makeup, period character hairstyling. Little Women made the short list despite getting in nowhere else, which is kind of strange. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood got nominated at Critics' Choice and the Makeup and Hairstylists Guild for period character makeup and period character hairstyling. And then Rocket Man, which I thought was a sure lock for a nomination, it got in everywhere. BAFTA, Critics' Choice, Makeup and Hairstylists Guild for period character makeup, period character hairstyling, and special effects makeup. And then went into the Oscars empty-handed. Like, what the hell? How'd that happen? And then there were some other big snubs, like probably the biggest of which, The Irishman, The Irishman didn't get in? Because, like, I get it, you know, like, it didn't even get, like, The Irishman did not get shortlisted. Which is weird. Because, yeah, the younger characters were done with CGI, but as far as I know, when the characters get really old, like, way older than the actors are now, like, a lot of it was done with makeup. Like, it was done with makeup. So it's like, and even then at the Makeup and Hairstylists Guild, it was nominated for special effects makeup, and it was also nominated Critics' Choice, but I'm not really going to, but Critics' Choice will sometimes make some weird calls, so I don't know if I want to count that too much, but still, if it got at the Makeup and Hairstylists Guild for special effects makeup, so it's like, even the makeup and hairstylists knew that there was something going on there. Like, how did The Irishman get snubbed, and yet Little Women got in? Like, that's strange. Despite the fact, yeah, because, like, Little Women didn't get in anywhere. And let's take a look at some of the other movies that may have gotten nominated at the Makeup and Hairstylist Guild, but didn't get shortlisted. Avengers Endgame was nominated for contemporary makeup. And again, for the rest of these films, until I say otherwise, the nominations I'm talking about were from the Makeup and Hairstylist Guild. Captain Marvel got nominated for special effects makeup. Hustlers got nominated for contemporary makeup and contemporary hairstyling. It Chapter 2 got in for special effects makeup. John Wick Chapter 3 got nominated for contemporary makeup, contemporary hairstyling. The Laundromat got nominated for contemporary hairstyling, and Us got nominated for contemporary makeup. And then another film that didn't get in anywhere, and even though I hate this movie, I will admit, I think the makeup was actually pretty phenomenal, and that was Hellboy. Like, I get it. Hellboy was terrible. It was a god-awful movie. But, I mean, the makeup that they did for him was really, really good. And I get it, like, maybe not as much of a personality as, like, Ron Perlman, but at the same time, it is a bit more realistic in terms of a demon. Like, I thought Hellboy, of all the things that were really terrible about the film, Hellboy's makeup was really, really phenomenal. I think should have gotten, if not a nomination, at least shortlisted. Like, it's kind of weird that it didn't get in anywhere. And then visual effects, which oh boy, if you know my channel, you know that I'm gonna complain about something big, big, big. The nominees were 1917, Avengers Endgame, The Irishman, The Lion King, and Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. And 1917 ended up winning. I was so angry when 1917 won Best Visual Effects. Again, I'm not complaining that it's a bad movie. I thought out of the movies nominated, well, actually, I think maybe Avengers Endgame was my number one pick out of the bunch in terms of the best movie with visual effects, but 1917 was number 2. But why did it win? The winner should have been The Lion King, and I do not care what anyone says. People only didn't want this to win because they didn't like the movie, but this was the visual effects achievement of the year. Like, The Lion King was the first, like, photoreal animated film, and some people go, well, shouldn't it be nominated for Best Animated Feature? And, like, here's the thing about people with The Lion King and saying that it shouldn't be nominated or shouldn't win anything. It's like, people are such hypocrites, because, like, they'll say, oh, it shouldn't be nominated for Best Animated Feature because it's a live-action movie. Even though it's not live action, it's clearly animated. They'll go, but Disney thinks it's live action. It's like, I don't care what Disney thinks. Like, what? Like, if Stanley Kubrick said The Shining was an animated movie, does that make The Shining an animated movie? No, it doesn't. You don't get to say what your movie is or isn't in terms of its medium. The medium speaks for itself. The Lion King remake was animated. But regardless, then there's visual effects, in which that same crowd of people will go, oh, but it's an animated movie. It should be in for visual effects. It should be in for Best Animated Feature, not visual effects. But it's like, animated movies have visual effects, you freaking idiots. It's like, they have visual effects. And animated films have not only been nominated for visual effects before, Nightmare Before Christmas and Kubo and the Two Strings, even though people will go, but that's stop motion, it's technically not live action, but it's like, no, it's animated, but whatever the fuck. Like, even then, there have been like fully CG animated movies that have been shortlisted for visual effects before, whether it be in like the 10 film shortlist or the 20 film or 15 film shortlist or 7 film shortlist, whatever it is. Like, for example, what was it? Like Incredibles 2 got in the 20 film shortlist, like it qualified. Like Ratatouille got in the top 15 in the shortlist in 2007. It's like animated movies. Oh, and not even just that. The original Lion King, a 2D animated movie, was shortlisted at the 1994 Oscars for visual effects. So it's like, even from the beginning, animated movies absolutely qualified. It just so happens that it's rare for it to get nominated. And so that's just the one thing. Then people will go, oh, but The Lion King's a bad movie. It's like, I don't care if you think it's a bad movie. The visual effects speak for themselves. It was the most groundbreaking achievement in visual effects of that year. The fact that they created all of this from the ground up with CGI is insane. It looks live action. It's nuts. And then the people will go, but the animals don't emote. Well, it's like, well, yeah, no shit, they don't emote because they're animals. Like, what were you expecting would happen? And like, why are people only complaining about this now when everyone had, no one had a problem with this in The Jungle Book or Charlotte's Web or Babe? None of that. No one had any complaints over talking animals until this Lion King remake came out. Then ever since then, people started complaining, like how they complained about The Little Mermaid and stuff. It's like, you people did not complain about this before. You only started complaining when they remade your favorite when they remade your favorite Disney movie. Like, it's such a stupid argument. And guess what? Even the visual effects people thought it deserved the win, because they literally gave The Lion King 3 wins at the Visual Effects Society, which was Outstanding Created Environment in a Photoreal Feature for the Pride Lands, Outstanding Virtual Cinematography in a Photoreal Feature, and the top prize of that year, Best Outstanding Visual Effects in a Photoreal Feature, beating Avengers Endgame and Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. Like, The Lion King deserved it, and the only reason why 1917 won, despite not winning visual effects, because 1917 was nominated, it only won BAFTA. It was nominated for Critics' Choice, and it was nominated for Visual Effects Society Supporting, VES Supporting Visual Effects, but it couldn't even win Supporting Visual Effects at the Visual Effects Society. So which one won? The Irishman won. The Irishman won won supporting visual effects of the Visual Effects Society, so that and it also won outstanding compositing in a photoreal feature. I think that was what it was, but it won best compositing as well. So if any movie had to beat The Lion King, even though it should have been The Lion King that won, but if any film was going to beat it, it should have been The Irishman, not 1917. And the only reason why 1917 won was because it was the big Best Picture frontrunner. Like The Irishman, it rode high, especially in terms of nominations, but it died fast. It died real fast. But 1917 only won, because it was, again, it was out of those 5 Best Picture, out of those 5 nominees, it was the most prestigious, it was the biggest, how do I describe it? It was the biggest Best Picture frontrunner. And then some people are going to try to go, well, what about this year with Avatar: The Way of Water and going up against All Quiet and Top Gun? Well, it's that's different because you're dealing with James Cameron, and again, even then, it's yeah, sure, Avatar wasn't going to win Best Picture anytime soon, but Avatar and James Cameron has already just made a name for himself in terms of winning, in terms of his films winning visual effects. And again, like the visual effects were was probably the reason why Avatar: The Way of Water got nominated. But it's like, again, you look at other years, all right? Even like, you know, for example, Gravity, even though it deserved best visual effects, let's face it, if it its big advantage was that it was a Best Picture nominee. But actually, here's a better example. Let's look at years where there wasn't any Best Picture nominees nominated for visual effects, all right? Let's take a look at 2020, the asterisk year for visual effects, because all the competition was just gone. Tenet won visual effects, but it only really won visual effects because, well, for one, again, all the competition was gone. But two, out of all the movies nominated for Best Picture that year, it was the most likely to be a Best Picture contender. First Man winning visual effects? Well, when you look at all the other nominees, like Avengers: Infinity War, Christopher Robin, Ready Player One, Solo, First Man was most likely to get a Best Picture nomination, so there you go. Interstellar winning? Again, out of all the nominees, it was most likely to be a Best Picture contender. And so when you combine that with 1917, and 1917 being that potential big Best Picture juggernaut, because going into the Oscars, keep in mind, it was expected to win, it was expected to win visual effects, because again, it won BAFTA, some kind of sound award. It was going to win a sound award, cinematography, director, and Best Picture. Like, it was looking like it was going to win 5 Oscars. Whereas with The Irishman, even though it was way more deserving than 1917, it was overall a significantly weaker Best Picture contender, nowhere near to the amount of that 1917 was. So even though The Lion King deserved visual effects, and if not The Lion King, The Irishman, 1917 only won because it was a Best Picture contender. Because when you look at the stats, whenever there's a Best Picture contender, whenever there's a Best Picture nominee in visual effects, it wins. Over 80% of the time, it wins. And 1917 was just an overall stronger contender than The Irishman in terms of Best Picture. And again, it's not fair. It shouldn't be that way. It should, but it's stupid. But that's just how it is. This is one of the reasons why I feel like there needs to be at least one major rule change of the Oscars, which is I like how they nominate them, have the individual branches nominate the individual categories, and then everyone nominates Best Picture. The individual branches should also choose the winners, because I'm sorry, random actor number 6 or random, screenwriter number 17 or random, song lyricist number 12 isn't going to know shit about visual effects. They're just not. Same thing with, visual effects people. They're probably not going to know as much about, let's say screenplay or again, well, I guess they do work with cinematography a lot, because you have to know about how a camera works to do that. But it's let's say, for example, again, acting. All right, I think an actor would know more about acting than a visual effects person. If they just changed up the nominees to where, or change up the rules where the individual branches choose the winners and then everyone chooses Best Picture, I feel like that would be a lot better, because again, you're getting people who don't know anything about visual effects voting for visual effects. And that's been a clear history of the Oscars for a long time. So there. But yeah, 1917, it won the Oscar. It won BAFTA, Critics' Choice, and Visual Effects Supporting, VES Supporting. Avengers: Endgame was nominated for the BAFTA Visual Effects Society, and it won the Critics' Choice Award for visual effects. What was that? I don't like that. I'm if you were gonna give, why did you wait to freaking Endgame to give it a win? Why didn't you give it to Infinity War for visual effects the previous year? Oh wait, because the Critics' Choice were too stupid and busy giving that award to Black Panther, a movie that had garbage visual effects. This is again, it's just so dumb. The Irishman, once again, got in everywhere. BAFTA, Critics' Choice, and it won Visual Effects Supporting. Again, if any film was going to beat The Lion King, even though it should have been The Lion King that won, but if any film was going to beat The Lion King, it should have been The Irishman. The Lion King, again, nominated everywhere. BAFTA, Critics' Choice, and won Visual Effects Society. And then Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker got nominated at BAFTA and Visual Effects Society. It didn't get nominated at Critics' Choice, but that's because it came out past the submission date for the Critics' Choice Awards, which is pretty much the same with every major Star Wars movie nowadays, other than Solo. So what could have also maybe gotten in? Well, Alita Battle Angel had a pretty good argument to be made, although it only got Visual Effects Society, but I would have preferred that way over the 1917 getting in. Probably even more so than Alita Battle Angel. I would have put in Gemini Man over 1917. Gemini Man, again, don't get me wrong, Gemini Man's a really bad movie, but the visual effects that they had for the junior character, like the young Will Smith character, it rivals The Irishman in terms of like photoreal people, because it's not just like his neck and head that's CGI, his whole body's CGI, and for the most part you never notice it. He looks like for the vast majority of the movie he looks flawless. Like he looks really good. But sadly that didn't happen. Some other films that were shortlisted: Captain Marvel, Terminator Dark Fate, and Cats. Cats also got shortlisted, and I know people are going to say, ew, Cats got shortlisted for visual effects? Here's the thing. I wouldn't have given it a nomination. I don't think it deserved a nomination, and it didn't. But I feel like I will say it did deserve a spot in the shortlist purely out of A for effort. Like, okay, well, for one, I don't think the problem with Cats was the CGI itself, because it looked about as good for the most part, maybe other than the cockroaches and the rats. For the most part, the CGI cat-human hybrids, they looked about as good as you can ask. But the problem, I feel like, goes more into just the idea of making human-cat hybrids. I think that's the problem more than anything, because it was just never going to work. And really, that's just more of a directing choice or an art direction choice. Because, like, the visual effects people, they're just given a task, and they just do the best of what they can do with what they're given. And given the task, I really commend the visual effects people for Cats. Like, when you're talking about the ridiculous stuff that they were being asked to do and create, the fact that it turned out as good as it did is very commendable. And that's why, again, purely A for effort, I would have put in Cats for the short list. Again, not a nomination. I would not nominate it, but again, just it deserves a spot in the short list purely out of A for effort. And some other contenders that got nominated at Critics' Choice included Ad Astra, which was very weird. I'm not surprised that didn't get in at the Oscars. The Aeronauts, which I don't know. Okay, that's just weird. Why? Why the Aeronauts? And then Ford v Ferrari, which again, it didn't really deserve. Also, I should also mention this. The Aeronauts and Ford v Ferrari got nominated at Visual Effects Society for supporting visual effects, but again, they lost to The Irishman, so, And then another film that I would probably also, maybe put in the short list would have been, like, Aladdin, because, Aladdin had some pretty good visual effects, especially during, like, the Never Had a Friend Like Me sequence. That was really, really good, very creative. Because I was like, how in the world are they gonna do, like, the genie and all that stuff? It just seemed very weird. Like, how are you gonna do the genie? And then and granted, the first time we saw him in the first teaser where we saw him, it didn't look all that great. But again, it was a trailer, because once you actually saw the movie, it's like, all right, he looks way better here. He looks way better in the movie, and especially during the Never Had a Friend Like Me sequence, it was a visual it was a visual treat. It was great. So yeah, 1917, beating The Lion King and The Irishman for visual effects. I'm never going to get over that. I'm never, ever getting over that. But anyways, sound editing. Oh God, yeah, there's a lot of, oh boy, there's a lot of, stuff to talk about here. The nominees were 1917, Ford v Ferrari, Joker, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. Ford v Ferrari won the Oscar, and it also won the Golden Reel Award for sound editing for effects Foley, like what, sound effects and Foley. Very good win. I think probably would have been my pick to win as well. Also, this is the last year where sound editing and sound mixing were separate categories, and they should be separate categories. But yeah. But 1917 had a pretty good argument to make as well, because it got nominated. Like let's take a look at what the nominees got nominated for. All right. 1917, it won the BAFTA for Best Sound, and at the Golden Reel Awards, it was nominated. It won sound editing for dialogue ADR, which made sense because a lot of it is dialogue driven, and especially given how like it's also following like these guys in what's supposed to look like one take. Like the sound, like the dialogue recording has to be very on point. So I get that. Like that's great. And it was nominated for the Golden Reel Award for sound editing effects Foley. Ford v Ferrari, it won the Oscar, was nominated for the Golden Globe, nominated for I'm just going to say, instead of Golden Reel Award, I'm going to say GRA. GRA for sound editing, dialogue, and ADR, and won for sound editing effects Foley. Joker had a pretty good haul. It was nominated at the BAFTAs, and it was nominated at the GRAs for sound editing, dialogue ADR, sound editing, effects Foley, and sound editing underscore. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood didn't get nominated for the BAFTA, but it was nominated for GRA sound editing, dialogue ADR, sound editing, effects Foley, and sound editing underscore. And then Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker got nominated at BAFTA and the GRA for sound editing, effects Foley, which makes sense. I mean, you can't go wrong with Star Wars for sound. It's very reliable. And then, like, some other contenders from the BAFTAs. Oh, God, this is, like, let me see. Yeah, like, the BAFTAs, nominated Rocketman for Best Sound. And Rocketman was also nominated for the GRAs for sound editing, dialogue, and ADR, and the GRA, and it won the GRA for sound editing in a musical. Like, that's... Again, we'll get back to Rocketman here in a bit, but for sound editing, it's not that much of a shock, but regardless. Some other contenders, Ad Astra, and I think for the rest of these, they will get when I say they got nominated somewhere, like when I mention these movies and I say what they were nominated for, they're from the Golden Reel Awards, so I'm just kind of breezing by them. Ad Astra got in for sound editing underscore. Avengers Endgame got sound editing, dialogue ADR, and sound editing effects and Foley. Cats, sound editing for a musical. Dolomite Is My Name for sound editing underscore. Echo and the Canyon for sound editing musical. Frozen 2, sound editing in a musical. A Hidden Life, sound editing, effects, and Foley. Gemini Man didn't get nominated anywhere. I'm just mentioning that, despite the sound in that being pretty good. The Irishman, sound editing, dialogue ADR. John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum, GRA, sound editing, effects Foley. Jojo Rabbit, sound editing, dialogue ADR, sound editing, and underscore, sound editing for underscore. which it won that at the GRAs. It won the GRA for sound editing underscore. Judy, sound editing in a musical. The Lion King was nominated for sound editing for animated, which I think there's an argument it could have been nominated for sound editing at the Oscars. Little Women, sound editing, underscore at the GRAs. Queen and Slim, sound editing underscore. Parasite, sound editing foreign language feature. Rocket Man, we already mentioned that. Rolling Thunder Review, a Bob Dylan story by Martin Scorsese. GRA sound editing musical. Toy Story 4, it won the GRA for sound editing animated over The Lion King. Waves, sound editing underscore, and Western Stars, sound editing musical. So yeah. Regardless, Ford v Ferrari, I thought it was the deserving winner for sound editing. I thought it was a very good pick. So, yeah. And then we get to sound mixing at the Oscars, which also is very interesting. And this one's definitely nowhere near as long. We have 1917, Ad Astra, Ford v Ferrari, Joker, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Ad Astra really did come out of nowhere. I thought that movie was dead in the water. I didn't think it would actually get in for sound mixing. And yet here it is. 1917 won the BAFTA for Best Sound, and it won the Oscar for sound mixing. Which I think for sound mixing, I think that's good. Like, Ford v Ferrari for sound editing and 1917 for sound mixing, I do feel like those were in the correct categories. Like, those won correctly. Ford v Ferrari, even though what's weird is that Ford v Ferrari, it got, again, BAFTA nomination for Best Sound, but at the Cinema Audio Society, it won for sound mixing live action. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, I just realized 1917 didn't get nominated at the Cinema Audio Society, which is very strange. The movie that won sound mixing at the Oscars didn't even get nominated at the at the Cinema Audio Society, which is strange. Joker got nominated at the BAFTAs for Best Sound and Cinema Audio Society for sound mixing live action. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood got nominated at the Cinema Audio Society for sound mixing live action. And then, like, the other two nominees at the Cinema Audio Society were The Irishman and Rocket Man. And Rocket Man also got nominated for the BAFTA for Best Sound, but you already knew that from sound editing as well. But that's strange. Like, and some other contenders you can maybe put in there. Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker got nominated for the BAFTA for sound. I don't know how close it was to sound mixing at the, Cinema Audio Society. And then The Lighthouse, you could have maybe made an argument for sound mixing. But I will say that it is strange that Rocket Man didn't get nominated for sound mixing. Rocket Man. Like, musicals do very well in sound mixing. And Ford v Ferrari winning sound mixing at the Cinema Audio Society, again, that's interesting. Because I thought 1917, again, which won the Oscar, was a stronger, at least for me, it was a stronger contender in sound mixing. But what do I know? But yeah. Best Original Score. We have 1917, Joker, Little Women, Marriage Story, and Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. Once again, this was a clean sweep for Joker. It was like Joker, it won the Oscar, and before that, it won the BAFTA, Golden Globe, and Critics' Choice. It was a sweeper. It was a complete sweeper. But before Joker won the Golden Globe, it was very much assumed that 1917 would win, well, it would be the frontrunner for original score. But no, it ended up being Joker, which is kind of crazy. But I'm not going to complain because Joker's score did deserve it. And it was a very different kind of score than I was expecting. Because when I heard, like, from the first, like, reactions from Joker, they were talking about how the cinematography is incredible, how the score is haunting. I was like, really? That's, And then when I was watching the movie, I was like, yeah, this is a masterclass in filmmaking, including score. So yeah. Little Women also got in everywhere. It was nominated at the BAFTAs, Golden Globes, and Critics' Choice. I'm glad this got nominated. I'm really, really glad Little Women got nominated. Oh my god, it's such a likable score. If you've never listened to Alexandre Desplat's score for Little Women, you need to. It's so good. It's so good. Oh my god. Marriage Story got nominated at the Golden Globes and Critics' Choice. I don't really remember the score for Marriage Story all that much, so I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of it's a bit forgettable for me. And I know some people are gonna be mad at this, but you know, Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker, and it was Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker was nominated at the BAFTAs, but I'm not gonna lie, I didn't like The Rise of Skywalker. I thought it did deserve Best Original Score. Because, like, there definitely was original scores in that film. Like, it's not just, you know, the classic Star Wars themes. Like, there still is a score, an original score in that film. And sorry, I thought it deserved it. I thought it kind of deserved the nomination. And maybe not the win. I mean, obviously, that was a Joker thing. But it's like, I thought it deserved to be nominated. I think maybe out of all these, I would have maybe, like, let's take a look at some, well, first let's take a look at some of the other contenders. Jojo Rabbit got nominated at the BAFTAs, and Motherless Brooklyn got nominated at the Golden Globes. Again, that was strange. That came out of nowhere. And then Us was nominated at Critics' Choice. But weirdly enough, another Critics' Choice winner, nominee was The Irishman. But The Irishman wasn't eligible because, like, the movie did not have an original score. Like there was the majority of the music in The Irishman was not original. Like, it was pre-existing music, which, you know what, I get. Like, if that's what makes it non-qualifiable, like, totally fair. I get that. And some other films that got shortlisted, Avengers Endgame, which honestly I maybe could have swapped out I could probably swap out Marriage Story in favor of that. Bombshell was shortlisted. The Farewell, Ford v Ferrari, Frozen 2, The King, and Pain and Glory. But yeah, I don't really know what much else to say about this, but like, it seemed like it was going to be a pretty safe bet to make. Like, it was pretty easy to see what was going to get nominated and what wasn't. So, yeah. Best Original Song. This is interesting. We have, oh wait, oopsies. Oh. We have I Can't Let You Throw Yourself Away from Toy Story 4, I'm Gonna Love Me Again from Rocketman, Into the Unknown from Frozen 2, I'm Standing With You from Breakthrough, and Stand Up from Harriet. For the most part, these are all great songs, except for I'm Standing With You, which is completely forgettable, because it's Diane Warren, and her songs are usually the worst. But regardless, other than I'm Standing With You, all the other songs here are really, really good. You know, I Can't Let You Throw Yourself Away from Toy Story 4, that was a big surprise. That didn't get in anywhere. But I'm glad that got in. It was a really fun song. If you haven't listened to that song, it's really fun, especially in the context of the movie. It's really, really funny. But yeah, I'm Gonna Love Me Again from Rocketman. It won the Golden Globe and the Critics' Choice, although it tied with Glasgow from Wild Rose for the Critics' Choice Award. That was strange. But, you know, I'm Gonna Love Me Again. Like, that's such a good song, especially when you see it in context of the movie. It's such a good song. Into the Unknown from Frozen 2. Oh my god. I'll get more into Frozen 2 here in a bit, but oh my god, Into the Unknown is such a good song. Regardless if you're talking about the one that Idina Menzel sung in the movie, or the one done by 21 Pilots. I think it was 21 Pilots. They were both both those versions were so good. Oh wait, no, it wasn't 21 Pilots. It was Panic at the Disco. I don't know bands, all right? But whatever. Regardless, both those versions of the song Into the Unknown were really, really good. Love it, love it, love it, love it. I'm Standing With You from Breakthrough. I already talked about how forgettable that song was. I don't remember a single thing about it. And then Stand Up from Harriet is also, I should also mention Into the Unknown got nominated at Golden Globe and Critics' Choice. There you go. I'm Standing With You only got Critics' Choice. And then Stand Up from Harriet got nominated at Golden Globe and Critics' Choice. Stand Up from Harriet is also it's a really good song. Again, I didn't love the movie, but again, Cynthia Erivo in the movie, as well as the song Stand Up, very good aspects of those movies. Not going to complain about those nominations. Some other potential contenders included in the shortlist were Catchy Song from the Lego Movie 2, the second part. It is a pretty catchy song. The Bronx from The Bronx, USA. Daily Battles from Motherless Brooklyn. A Glass of Soju from Parasite. High Above the Water from Toni Morrison, The Pieces I Am. Letter to My Godfather from The Black Godfather. I already mentioned Glasgow from Wild Rose. Never Too Late from The Lion King. Speechless from Aladdin. And Spirit from The Lion King. Wait, I forgot to mention this. Spirit got... Hold on a second. Let's see. Also, yeah, Spirit from The Lion King looked like it was going to be pretty close to get in. And honestly, I would have nominated Spirit. Spirit is a really good song. But Speechless from Aladdin, which got in at Critics' Choice, no. Like, I like the message of the song, but unlike The Lion King with Spirit, Speechless did not fit in with Aladdin one bit. Like, not one bit did it feel like an Aladdin song. And I'm not saying it has to be like upbeat or anything, because obviously, for example, A Whole New World isn't upbeat, but it's like... They could have done a lot better with that song, I believe. I don't know why everyone loved Speechless so much. I thought Spirit was so much better. And then Beautiful Ghosts from Cats didn't get shortlisted, yet it was nominated for the Golden Globe, which, again, look, Cats is a bad movie, but I'll give credit where credit is due. Beautiful Ghosts was probably it was definitely one of the much better aspects of Cats. In fact, I thought it was one of the few songs that actually drove the story forward. Like, it was like, wow, like, most of these songs are just like character introductions, even though this film tried to weave a narrative together, but it made even less sense than how it was in the musical. And then suddenly you have this Beautiful Ghost song, which, again, it does happen to tie things together a little bit, or at least at least serves the story a lot better. So like, I think that should have, if not a nomination, at least it should have been shortlisted. The fact that it didn't get shortlisted though is very strange, especially since I don't remember most of these other songs, like, again, freaking Diane Warren or whatever. Just And then you have Best Animated Feature, which we have How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World, I Lost My Body, Klaus, Missing Link, and Toy Story 4. This was major because Frozen 2 got in everywhere and got snubbed for the Oscar. Because, like, I'm looking at this, other than Toy Story 4, like, Frozen 2 was the biggest bet to have. It was the biggest, like, it was the best bet you could make. Because, like, let's take a look at the stats here, all right? Or at least, like, what these films got. How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World got the Golden Globe, Critics' Choice, Producers Guild, and Annie. It was nominated for all those. No BAFTA. I Lost My Body only got Critics' Choice, and it won the Annie Award for Independent Film. Klaus won BAFTA and won the Annie Award, which we'll get to that here in a bit. Wow. Missing Link, out of nowhere, Missing Link won the Golden Globe, which was very, very insane. But it was nominated at Critics' Choice, PGA, and BAFTA. No, not BAFTA. Annie, I should say. And then Toy Story 4, it won the Oscar. It was nominated for the BAFTA, nominated for the Golden Globe, won Critics' Choice, won PGA, but lost the Annie. And Frozen 2, like Toy Story, got nominated everywhere. BAFTA, Golden Globe, Critics' Choice, PGA, Annie. but it didn't get nominated. And it kind of goes to this new theory I've been suggesting, where it's like you kind of have to be like in the 90s range to be nominated for Best Animated Feature at the Oscars. Because if not, you're going to end up like The Good Dinosaur. You're going to end up like Monsters University. You're going to end up like Cars 3. And I'm willing to bet that's going to happen with Elemental this year. Elemental's not going to get in. And unless somehow Wish turns out to be like the biggest surprise of the year, it's not getting in. Because it doesn't look that good. But yeah, this was strange because like Toy Story 4, like it seemed like it was going to be a clear front runner. But then, because like again, it won the Critics' Choice Award and the Producers Guild Award. But again, it didn't even. It lost. The fact that it lost the Golden Globe to Missing Link was strange. Again, I'm not saying that's bad because Missing Link is great. Honestly, other than I Lost My Body, like if you swapped out I Lost My Body, because I didn't like I Lost My Body. I thought it was too weird and existential for its own good. If you swapped that out with Frozen 2, you like. This would have been an amazing top 5 for animated feature because all of these movies would have been fantastic. But again, not I Lost My Body. Even Toy Story 4, I don't mind as a winner. Like Toy Story 4, like I don't care what anybody says. Toy Story 4 was fantastic. It was fantastic. It was terrific. Like Toy Story 4, I was thinking the same thing as everyone else when that movie was coming out. It's like, why are they making another Toy Story movie? Like, haven't they made enough of these already? I was saying that, saw the movie, and I was like, well, I guess I'm wrong. I guess it's just not wise to ever doubt Toy Story. So there's that. But the thing is, like, it was so sure that Toy Story 4 was going to win the Oscar. It seemed like it was going to be a slam dunk. But again, it didn't win the Golden Globe. And yet, at the BAFTAs and Annies, it started shifting towards Klaus. And I was like, oh my God, could Toy Story 4 actually lose? Because like Klaus was also a great film. Like if you don't know what Klaus is basically like this sort of reimagining of the whole Santa Claus mythos. And it's so clever, it's so charming, it's so good. The art like direction in the film is beautiful. And for the longest time, I thought it was like a Spider-Verse thing where they combined CG animation with hand-drawn animation. But no, it really was a hand-drawn animated movie, but with very 3D looking shaders and stuff. Like that was crazy. And like Klaus was just absolutely phenomenal. And so, like, I get it if you really wanted Klaus to win over Toy Story 4. Again, even I'm not so sure which one I would pick over it. But I'm not going to complain over Toy Story 4, because it was great. What were the other potential contenders? Abominable got nominated at Critics' Choice and PGA, which was kind of strange. Like, I didn't really consider that actually happening at the Oscars. I was keeping it in the conversation, but I was like, I don't think it's getting nominated. Oh boy, what's this movie called? Buñuel in the Labyrinth of the Turtles got in at Annie Independent. We already talked about Frozen 2. It got in everywhere, but it got nominated everywhere, but it didn't win. Oko's in Promare and Weathering with You got nominated for Annie Independent, but they all lost to I Lost My Body. And then the Lion King remake got nominated for Best Animated Feature at the Golden Globes, but the reason why I have it in red is not for the reasons you would think, because it did qualify for Best Animated Feature. Because if you're going to be nominated for Best Animated Feature at the Oscars, your film needs to be, I think, 75% animated. Like 75% of the film needs to be animated, and well over 99% of the film is animated. Like the only live action shot in the entire film is like that one opening sunrise, and everything else is animated. Even the backgrounds, everything is animated. Like, it's more of an animated movie than even, like, WALL-E or the Lego Movie or Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. Way more than Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. because those movies had significantly more live action in them than The Lion King did. So it did qualify. It's just Disney did not submit it to the Oscars for animated feature. They didn't consider it an animated movie, which is dumb, because it is. You don't get to say that it's not an animated movie just because you don't want it to be. Again, if Stanley Kubrick said that The Shining was animated, does that suddenly make The Shining animated? No, it doesn't. It's stupid logic. I don't know why they're even afraid to admit that this movie's animated to begin with, because like, it is, like, it's an incredible achievement in what animation's capable of. They made a photoreal animated movie, and they don't want to admit that. It's dumb. It's stupid. So, yeah. Then, the last category we're going to be talking about, because I know nothing about documentaries or short films, is Best International Feature, where we had Corpus Christi from Poland, Honeyland from North Macedonia, Les Miserables from France, Parasite from South Korea, and Pain and Glory from Spain. Now, if any other film was winning other than Parasite, there would be some problems, because it's nominated for Best Picture. Like, why would you nominate, like, why would you nominate this for Best Picture if it wasn't going to win International Feature? Like, that would be dumb. That would be really, 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 really dumb. But there were a few big, and like Corpus Christi didn't get nominated anywhere, if I'm not mistaken. Honeyland didn't get nominated anywhere. Les Miserables got nominated at the BAFTAs, but for the next year, it got nominated in the next year's BAFTAs. But it also got Golden Globe and Critics' Choice. It seemed like a big bet, but we'll talk about the repercussions of France trying to push Les Miserables for international feature. Parasite, we already talked about that. And Pain and Glory from Spain, again, another very good bet to make, especially considering Antonio Banderas was nominated for lead actor, was getting nominated for lead actor, so, yeah. But the reason why, let's look at some other, let's look at some other contenders. The other movies that were shortlisted at the Oscars included The Painted Bird from the Czech Republic, Truth and Justice from Estonia, Those Who Remained from Hungary, Beanpole from Russia, and Atlantics from Senegal, which got nominated at Critics' Choice. But keep in mind, the international feature shortlist was way shorter than it is now. So there was a lot less contenders. And that meant, like, some of the films that, let's see, For Sama didn't get shortlisted, even though it was nominated at the BAFTAs, although I'm not sure, I don't know much about that film. I know that it was nominated for a lot of BAFTAs, though. The Farewell didn't qualify because it's a United States production, even though a lot of it is in another language, and a lot of it takes place in China. It wasn't able to qualify for the Oscars because, despite getting nominated for the Golden Globe and the BAFTA, it was considered it's not an international film. It's a movie that's made in the it's a United States production that just so happens to be in another language, which, fair enough. The big one, though, however, was Portrait of a Lady on Fire from France. France decided to push Les Miserables instead of Portrait of a Lady on Fire, despite a lot of critics saying that Portrait of a Lady on Fire should have been pushed instead, because Portrait of a Lady on Fire got in everywhere, BAFTA, Globes, and Critics' Choice. This is one of the problems that you face when you get into letting the countries themselves decide who gets, who they want to push for international feature, because you end up with some really weird decisions. For example, this year, India did not, I guess technically the decision came last year, but it's India did not submit RRR for Best International Feature. They went with Last Picture Show, which is a movie that no one had ever heard of, and everyone collectively thought, well, that was a really stupid move. Why'd you do that? You had a nomination for RRR right there in your hand and you threw it away. And the same thing could be said for Portrait of a Lady on Fire, although at the same time, you could maybe make an argument that France still got nominated with Les Miserables. So, yeah. So it is very strange. And guys, those are my thoughts on the Oscar nominations and the Oscars from 2020, the 92nd Oscars. It was a crazy year. Parasite had a really good night that year. And again, I gotta say, this is like the best picture lineup that I've seen maybe ever in terms of like the expanded best picture era. My thoughts, I want to know your thoughts. What do you think of the 92nd Oscars, the nominees, the winners? Let me know in the comments below what you think, and consider hitting that subscribe button, whether it be subscribing to the podcast on Spotify or subscribing to the channel on YouTube, because if you don't, maybe a parasite will grow inside of you.